There are many games out there that are releasing right after another, making picking and choosing which titles to review feel like a complicated game of chess. But when Flying Wild Hog Studio dropped a trailer for the newest installment into the Shadow Warrior franchise, it immediately entered my sights. Now, whether I can hit this target or not is yet to be seen. We know this game is different than its predecessor, but how much so? Stick to the end of the video to find out. You may or may not be surprised. Keep in mind, I'm going to be a little rough on my friend here. Shadow Warrior is a franchise I kind of hold close to my chest. I hope you'll stick around either way. That being stated, welcome to my brief review for Shadow Warrior 3. In my recent review for Dying Light 2, I mentioned how a well-made sequel's goal should be to improve and innovate on previous ideas. Otherwise, I think that game should be considered a spin-off or remake. Now, this take has so much more depth and room for argument, but that's not the point of today's video. Flying Wild Hog Studio has released what they believe should be the next evolution in the Shadow Warrior franchise, a series that has established itself based on the fun and engaging combat. The first game was released in 1997, then came the remake in 2013. Following that, in 2016, was my favorite addition, Shadow Warrior 2. This game changed up everything. One of the best aspects was the amount of unique weapons and different ways to build out your character. The game also came suited with a overly complicated mission design that honestly I think did more good than bad. Because of this design and how many ways to mix and match abilities and weapons, it was a game that kept me playing for hours and hours, all while still enjoying the company of Wang and his unapologetic comedy. I'm always a sucker of value per dollar, and Shadow Warrior 2 was fantastic in this regard. Now bear with me a moment, this is all leading up to my final point at the end of the video. The mission design may have been unorganized in Shadow Warrior 2, but it provided more enemies, bosses, and weapons. Sadly, Shadow Warrior 3 ditches all of this hard work and effort made in the second game, and it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but as you'll find out, it's also not worth the $50 price point. If you're considering playing it via PS Now, then I say it'd definitely probably be worth it, but only because you get a shitload of other titles. Now back to my overly complicated point. Shadow Warrior 3 has a gameplay time of about 5 to 8 hours. Now this brings a few benefits, like having an easy platinum trophy for trophy hunters such as myself, or an easy to follow and complete story. But at the same time, it has a huge chain of cons dragging behind its lightweight of pros, causing it to lessen the overall impact. The combat and traversal is all there is to this game. This is as linear as a game can get. Don't get me wrong, there's some really awesome level designs. I mean, this is a game that starts you out on the back of a fucking dragon, but in total, there's only 9 of these levels, and only some of them are the set piece moments you come to expect from a game similar to Doom. That's the thing about this game, it feels like it lacks an identity. It has the things fans come to expect, like the classic Wang comedy and weird bosses, as few as it may be, but overall, it misses its mark. When it comes down to it, this game feels like a checklist of popular game mechanics. Grappling hook, check. Doom gameplay loop, check. References, check. Fourth wall breaks, check. This isn't a bad habit for games to fall into. There's some good examples of games that master this concept, Dying Light 2 being one of them. However, Shadow Warrior 3 is disappointing beyond its playtime or mechanics. There's just little to upgrade, and these upgrades are not very impactful for the most part. You have a single power, which is a force push, and there's only 1 melee weapon and under 10 guns to use. Plus another 9 gore weapons, which are limited use weapons that are taken from killing enemies via takedowns. These takedowns can be visually impressive, but also they have a certain jankiness to them. When you look at it on paper, this is a decent amount of choices for the short play time, but compared to the 76 weapons in the second game, you can't really blame me for scoffing. The one good aspect is the cutscenes and story, but even that has some issues. Cutscenes look great when it comes to the quality, however it has a lot of stutters and stiff moments that tend to stick out. I do love how dismemberment works in this game and how attacking the bigger enemies kinda shreds their skin as they get closer to dying. This is a perfect tool to use as an immersive health bar, and it's done perfectly. Shooting enemies will leave bullet holes based on where you hit them. It's really well done. That's why I hate the short gameplay and lack of variety in the character builds. This game just looks so damn good, it feels good to play, it has interesting environment puzzles, great lore book to detail the world, even the few weapons it presents are awesome. However, I think over time, some people will start to dislike this game more and more. On the surface, it's a great game, especially if you don't have much time to sink into titles like Elden Ring, for instance. The characters here are true to form, the combat is fluid and has a flow, be it a familiar one. But unlike Shadow Warrior 2, I don't think I'll ever play or look back at this game again. In short, this game is not bad unless you pay that $50. That's when it becomes a bit more questionable. There's nothing wrong with linear games at all, but it can be done in a more satisfying way than this. There's no way in hell I can recommend this game above Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West, Dying Light 2, or even Wonderlands. I don't know what happened here. This game had a while to cook. I can't see how 5 hours of content was their goal this entire time. Maybe I'm making a big deal where there isn't one, but when all is said and done, I have to stick to my philosophy regarding sequels, and this one just fails that. When it comes down to it, I'm a very easy person to please when it comes to games. That's why most of my reviews aren't really talking bad about the game, because I just enjoy gameplay loops and just how creators implement different game ideas. I love exploring them even in the worst of games. I'm one who liked Marvel's Avengers, for instance. So when I say this game is lacking, take my word for it. Because when the credits finally rolled in, the only thing I found myself feeling was disappointment. As I've mentioned, if you have PS Now, it's worth playing, just for the few comedic moments, but other than that, this game falls on its face right when you start getting into the flow. When you put the big number 3 behind a title, you have to be ready to bring your all. You have to surprise the player and remind them why the franchise shouldn't be forgotten. This game has done the opposite for me. I'll forget about this game the moment I'm done editing this video. But one game I'll never forget, one that'll always be tempting me to come back and replay it, that game is Shadow Warrior 2. See, that's the difference. In 5 years, I don't think people will even give Shadow Warrior 3 a second thought. However, when it comes to the former game, people still play to this day. Hell, my review for it gets views every single day. That alone tells me the difference between these two games. I know this came out as a comparison video. That was not the purpose. I just wanted to put in light why I was disappointed in this game, because I know some others might disagree. I've thought about it a lot, and this is just my final opinions, and I am sorry if I came off as comparing two games, but it is a sequel to it, so honestly, they made it comparable. A little while ago, I had this worry when Dying Light 2 tweeted out about it taking 500 hours to fully complete that game. Flying Wild Hog tweeted saying that their game can be played that long too if you beat it a shitload of times, mentioning that it only takes 8 hours to beat. So believe me when I say I'm not surprised by the length, nor the changes from the second game. Maybe that's the problem. The game didn't try to surprise me. Maybe I'm spoiled from Dying Light 2 and Elden Ring, but I don't think so. Maybe I need to replay the original to really get a good scope of the quality of Shadow Warrior 3, but honestly, I don't care to do that. There's just so many great games out right now that putting time into something like this makes no sense to me. Who knows what the future for this game is? Maybe there will be updates along the road and DLC that make the content replayable. Until then, I recommend staying away from this one unless you pay the $10 or whatever the price is for your region for PS Now. Even if you're a fan of the franchise, I think playing through PS Now will bring less disappointment like it did with me. That's just my opinion of the game. What about you guys? Any fans of the original Shadow Warrior care to give their take? I know many wanted this linear experience, so I'm very curious to know your views on it. That being said, thank you guys for watching. As always, I have more reviews cooking up. Elden Ring, for one, is a game that does not cease to surprise me at every single turn. I'm 50 hours into this masterpiece and still have so much more to go. So don't expect the review for that game this week, but you can probably expect it this month. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to give me my dopamine fix for the day, hitting that like button and subscribing will definitely accomplish that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, I'm out of here.